August 14th, 2025, 11:34 a.m., National Reconnaissance Office, Chantilly, Virginia, analyst reviewing satellite imagery, Venezuela, Caracas region, mountain facility 47 miles southwest of capital. Construction began 18 months ago. Officially Agricultural Research Station, Chinese-funded development project, part of Belt and Road Initiative, legitimate economic cooperation between friendly nations. That's official story. That's diplomatic cover. That's lie, because satellite shows different reality, shows massive antenna arrays, shows underground facilities, shows power generation far exceeding agricultural needs, shows security perimeter inappropriate for research station, shows everything except agricultural research. This is signals intelligence facility. This is radar tracking station. This is Chinese military base on South American soil. 1,840 miles from Cape Canaveral, 2,100 miles from Vandenberg Space Force Base. Perfect position for monitoring U.S. space launches. Perfect location for tracking American satellites. Perfect site for compromising American space operations. This is strategic threat. This is intelligence disaster. This is crisis requiring response. Welcome to Navy Force, where satellite imagery reveals secrets and 600 Chinese technicians prove Belt and Road is military expansion disguised as economic development. NRO immediately classifies findings: briefs, CIA, briefs Space Force, briefs Pentagon, briefs White House. Within 6 hours, highest levels of government aware. Analysis continues, deeper investigation, more satellite passes. Electronic intelligence collection, signals intercepts, pattern emerges. Facility operational 3 months, tracking U.S. satellite launches, recording telemetry, mapping orbits, monitoring space-based reconnaissance assets. Everything American military does in space Chinese facility observes records, transmits to Beijing. That's operational security catastrophe. That's intelligence compromise. That's advantage elimination. Because space superiority requires secrecy, requires unknown capabilities, requires adversaries guessing. When adversaries know everything, advantage disappears. When adversaries track everything, surprise impossible. When adversaries monitor everything, operations compromised. That's current situation. That's problem requiring solution. Question is what solution? Military strike, diplomatic protest, covert sabotage. No easy answers. No good options. Just choices between bad and worse. CIA establishes working group, assesses options. First option, diplomatic. Demand China close facility. Threaten sanctions, threaten consequences. Unlikely to work. China will deny military purpose, will claim research station, will dare America to prove otherwise. Proof requires revealing intelligence methods, revealing sources, revealing capabilities. Unacceptable. Second option, military strike, Tomahawk cruise missiles, B-2 stealth bomber, special operations raid, destroy facility, eliminate threat. Simple, direct, effective. Also escalatory. Attack on Venezuelan soil means war with Venezuela, maybe war with China. Unacceptable risk. Third option, covert action. Sabotage facility. Make it appear accident. Power failure, equipment malfunction, fire, cyber attack. Plausible deniability maintained. Objective achieved, that's preferred option. That's CIA specialty. That's decision recommended. Question for viewers: Chinese spy base discovered in allied territory of adversary. What's best response? A, public exposure. B, military strike. C, covert sabotage. Comment your strategic choice. Navy Force believes secret bases require secret responses, and sometimes solutions create bigger problems than original threats. CIA activates Special Activities Center. Ground branch operators, paramilitary specialists. Mission planning begins. Infiltration routes studied. Facility layout analyzed. Security assessment conducted. Chinese employ 600 personnel. officially civilian technicians, actually People's Liberation Army, Signal Corps specialists, electronic warfare officers, intelligence analysts, all military, all operational, all disguised as civilians. Venezuelan security provides perimeter defense. 120 soldiers, Venezuelan military intelligence, Cuban advisors present, Russian technicians supporting. This is multinational intelligence operation. Chinese lead, others support. Everyone benefits, everyone shares intelligence, everyone knows American secrets. That's strategic disaster, that's alliance exploitation, that's authoritarian cooperation against American interests. Planning continues 3 weeks. Infiltration team selected 12 operators, Spanish-speaking, regional experience, combat-proven, equipment selected, explosives, incendiaries, cyber warfare tools, exfiltration planned, Caribbean submarine pickup, USS Alexandria, Virginia class, mission window identified, September 12, 14, new moon. Maximum darkness, optimal conditions, presidential authorization requested, National Security Council debates, risk assessment conducted, success probability 73%, escalation probability 31%, acceptable odds, authorization granted, mission proceeds, codename Eagle Eye. Objective, neutralize Chinese signals intelligence facility without attribution. Time on target, 90 minutes, expected casualties, 0 American, unknown Chinese. Collateral damage, acceptable if minimal. Rules of engagement, weapons free if compromised. Exfiltration, guaranteed attempt, not guaranteed success. That's special operations, that's acceptable risk, that's mission profile. On Navy Force, we understand covert operations are policy continuation by clandestine means. When diplomacy fails and war is unacceptable, spies and soldiers operate in shadows. Subscribe to Navy Force if you believe some wars are won quietly and some victories remain classified decades later. But intelligence leaks, always leaks. Chinese intelligence penetrated somewhere. CIA, NSA, Pentagon, unknown. But 3 days before mission, Chinese Embassy Beijing summons U.S. ambassador. Meeting at Foreign Ministry, senior officials present. Message delivered clearly, forcefully, threateningly. American government considering covert action against Chinese technical facility in Venezuela. This would constitute act of war. China would respond militarily, would target American facilities globally, would strike American satellites, would disable GPS constellation, would blind reconnaissance assets, would escalate to level America cannot sustain. Recommendation: abandon operation, accept facility presence, or face consequences unprecedented. Meeting ends. Ambassador transmits report. Washington shocked. How did China know? How did intelligence leak? Investigation begins, but mission must be canceled. Can't proceed when enemy knows you're coming. Can't succeed when element of surprise lost. Can't risk operators when compromise confirmed. Mission scrubbed. Facility remains. Chinese espionage continues. American space operations remain compromised. That's intelligence failure. That's strategic defeat. That's losing without fighting. White House convenes crisis meeting. Options reconsidered. Diplomatic approach attempted. Secretary of State calls Chinese foreign minister. Conversation brief. Unproductive. Hostile. Chinese position clear. Facility is legitimate, serves peaceful research purposes. Located on sovereign Venezuelan territory. China's relationship with Venezuela is bilateral matter. United States has no standing to object. End of discussion. American position equally clear. Facility compromises national security, threatens space operations, violates Western Hemisphere security. Must be closed. Chinese response: no. Standoff impasse. Crisis frozen. Facility operational. American monitoring continues. Chinese espionage continues. Nothing resolved. Everything worse. Because now diplomatic attempts exhausted. Now covert options compromised. Now only military option remains. But military option starts war, creates casualties, risks escalation. Nobody wants that, so facility remains. Threat persists. Problem grows. Space Force adjusts operations, changes launch procedures, alters satellite orbits, implements encryption updates, reduces vulnerability, somewhat, partially, incompletely, because tracking station sees everything optical, detects everything electronic, records everything mechanical, Chinese, no American capabilities, no American limitations, no American intentions. That's strategic advantage, that's intelligence goldmine, that's permanent compromise unless facility destroyed. But facility won't be destroyed, not militarily, not covertly, not diplomatically, will remain operational, will continue spying, will keep feeding intelligence to Beijing for years, maybe decades. That's reality, that's acceptance, that's defeat disguised as pragmatism. At facility, Chinese personnel celebrate. Survived American pressure, maintained operations, achieved objectives. They know Americans wanted them gone. No Americans considered attack. No Americans backed down. That's psychological victory. That's morale boost. That's vindication of Chinese strategy. Build bases where adversaries can't attack, where political costs exceed military gains, where options narrow to acceptance or war. Americans chose acceptance. Chinese chose expansion. Clear winner, clear loser, clear precedent. Venezuelan President Maduro visits facility October 3rd. Publicity event, media coverage, Chinese and Venezuelan flags flying together, ribbon cutting ceremony, facility officially opens. Named Simon Bolivar Scientific Research Center. Pure propaganda, pure deception, pure insult to American intelligence. Everyone knows what facility does. Nobody admits it. Diplomatic fiction maintained. Operational reality continues. Maduro praises Chinese investment, praises technological cooperation, praises anti-imperialist solidarity. Standard rhetoric, standard alliance building, standard challenge to American hemispheric influence, China expanding, America retreating, Venezuela enabling. That's geopolitical shift, that's balance changing, that's hemisphere, no longer American sphere, that's concerning, that's destabilizing, that's future. Intelligence assessment updates quarterly, facility capabilities expand, additional antennas installed, deeper underground construction, more personnel arrive, count now 847, mix of Chinese, Russian, Iranian technical specialists. This isn't just China anymore. This is authoritarian intelligence consortium, pooling resources, sharing capabilities, cooperating against American interests. That's alliance formation, that's bloc building, that's Cold War dynamics returning, except worse. Because authoritarian states learned lessons. Don't confront America directly. Confront indirectly, through proxies, through deniability, through spaces where American power cannot reach. Venezuela is that space. Caribbean is that space. South America increasingly that space. American Monroe Doctrine dead. American hemispheric dominance ending. Facility proves it, symbolizes it, accelerates it. What did Navy Force learn from this crisis? First, intelligence facilities are force multipliers. One station in Venezuela compromises entire American space program. Asymmetric advantage, strategic impact, disproportionate threat. Second, covert operations require secrecy. When compromised, they fail. When enemies know you're coming, they prepare. CIA operation leaked, mission canceled, failure complete. Third, diplomatic protests achieve nothing against determined adversaries. China dismissed American objections, maintained facility, ignored complaints. Words without force mean nothing. Fourth, economic interdependence prevents military responses. China is major trading partner. Economic disruption from conflict exceeds security benefit from facility destruction. Therefore, facility remains. Economics trumps security. Fifth, authoritarian cooperation increasing. China leads, Russia supports, Iran participates, Venezuela hosts, alliance forming, threatening American interests, requiring American response, not receiving adequate response. That's concerning. That's pattern. That's trajectory toward confrontation. Final lesson: some threats cannot be eliminated, must be managed, must be mitigated, must be accepted. Chinese facility remains operational, will remain operational, cannot be destroyed without unacceptable costs, therefore must adjust, must adapt, must overcome through other means. That's maturity. That's realism. That's recognition that American power has limits. Those limits are real. Those limits matter. Those limits shape strategy. Facility existence proves this. Facility permanence confirms this. Facility expansion reinforces this. America adjusting to a world where dominance is challenged, where supremacy is questioned, where primacy is contested. That's uncomfortable, that's difficult, that's reality. Quiz answer from earlier. Chinese spy base discovered what's best response? Answer isn't clear. Public exposure creates diplomatic crisis. Military strike risks war. Covert sabotage failed when compromised. Maybe answer is D. None of above except reality. Adapt operations. Mitigate damage. Not satisfying, not decisive, but realistic. Sometimes problems cannot be solved, can only be managed. That's wisdom. That's maturity. That's governing in complex world where adversaries are sophisticated and options are limited and perfect solutions don't exist. Here's truth mainstream media won't explain. China won this confrontation. Built base, maintained base, operates base. America protested, considered action, took no action. Chinese expansion continues. American objections ignored, pattern repeating elsewhere. Djibouti, Cambodia, Solomon Islands, Pakistan, Myanmar. Chinese bases spreading. American responses inadequate. Economic leverage prevents military action. Diplomatic protests achieve nothing. Covert options compromised. Therefore, Chinese expansion succeeds. That's strategic trend, that's geopolitical shift, that's balance of power changing, not through war, through patient accumulation of positions, through exploitation of constraints, through recognition that America won't fight over each individual base, won't risk war over each individual facility, won't sacrifice economy over each individual position. China understands this, exploits this, wins this, repeatedly, consistently, successfully. Subscribe to Navy Force if you believe knowing threats exist doesn't mean eliminating them. Like this video if you're frustrated by limits of American power. Comment below. Should U.S. have attacked facility anyway? Should Space Force operations be completely redesigned? What would you do as CIA director when operation compromised? Your perspective matters. Your engagement builds awareness. Your comments demand accountability from leaders who accept defeats disguised as pragmatism and call strategic retreats. Wisdom and pretend management is victory when victory was abandonment. Chinese facility operates now. Will operate tomorrow. Will operate years from now. Tracking American satellites, recording American launches, monitoring American space operations. Nothing stops this. Nothing changes this. Nothing improves this. That's defeat. Uncomfortable word, unpopular assessment, accurate conclusion. Sometimes America loses, not through combat, through constraints, through complexity, through recognition that some fights cost more than winning is worth. That's maturity or weakness, depending on perspective. That's wisdom or cowardice, depending on values. That's reality or excuse, depending on expectations. Navy Force doesn't judge. Navy Force reports. Chinese base exists. American operations compromise. Nothing done. Nothing will be done. That's information you deserve. That's truth others hide. That's why we exist. Stay informed. Stay realistic. Stay aware, because comfortable lies are pleasant. Uncomfortable truths are necessary. We provide ladder, whether you want it or not, because you need it, whether you know it or not.